Welcome to the Writing Glitch. I'm Cheri Dotterer, your classroom coach. Today we have Beverly Moskowitz. She's an occupational therapist and the founder of Real OT Solutions. I must confess that she has been a mentor of mine for many years, and I am just privileged to have her be here on the podcast with us. I am so glad to have you here today. Thank you for coming, Bev.
Cheri, I consider myself more than a mentor. I consider our relationship to be that of colleagues and friends, but thank you for that.
Before we really begin the podcast, I want to introduce our sponsor. Our sponsor is Disability Labs. At Disability Labs, we are committed to impact the journey of 20,000 teachers by 2030 so that they can reignite their passion for teaching. Our professional development series focuses on math and writing strategies to help all students in their classroom. These interventions improve students with and without disabilities, while students have access to mathematics and writing skills. We have an ebook called The Pizza Problem, which is available for $14.95. You can see all that information in the show notes. The Pizza Problem introduces the concept of squares to students. Whether you are a teacher, an occupational therapist, or this math problem uses vision to help conceptual knowledge from kindergarten through 12th grade and increases the complexity of and improves number sense. Yeah, that didn't come out right, but let me repeat that last sentence again. From kindergarten through 12th grade by increasing the complexity of student knowledge base and improving number sense. Now, let's get on with the show, Bev. Tell us a little bit about you, because many people don't know you, and what is Real OT Solutions?
Thank you, Cheri. Hi, everybody. I am Beverly Moskowitz. I'm an occupational therapist, and I've been doing this for 48 years. Goes by like this. I tell everybody, you'll never realize how quickly the time goes by until you have to look back and reckon with it. I'm a school-based therapist for most of my career. And like many other school-based, we found ourselves drowning in handwriting referrals. And I was using everything that I ever was taught should be impacting writing legibility, and I wasn't having success. This whole program that I'm going to share with you today, I call my penicillin. It was an accidental discovery. In fact, I call myself the accidental entrepreneur because it wasn't even my vision to have a company. But I got backed into it, and I will share that story with you this morning.
Beautiful. Go ahead, share that backstory as to how that medicine got injected into your system.
So here's what happened. If you're a school-based OT, if you're a teacher, if you're a parent, handwriting is an important part of what a child's experience in schooling should be about, especially in the early years. And sadly, it's not being covered for a variety of reasons. Teachers are overwhelmed trying to cover content. Every year, more and more is expected of them. Referrals are coming to the OT department to address handwriting issues. We are drowning. As I said, we're getting a whole bunch of referrals, and I was using everything I had ever learned, working on core strength and hand manipulation skills. The child scored poorly on a perceptual assessment. I'm working on that. And I'm using the popular handwriting programs out there, and I'm not making a difference. I can't live like that. Now, this is going back like 20 years. I started to experiment, and I discovered that when I focused on letter size versus letter form, the kids caught on really quickly. And the special ed kids became the neatest printers in the school. And how do you know that? Because everybody hangs their work in the hallway. I'd walk down the halls and I'd see my kids' writing hanging up. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that looks so beautiful. And I get up to a regular ed classroom and that looked horrible. And it was consistent. I asked a first grade teacher friend if I could try something out in her classroom. And I went in there for a half hour tops, shared this concept that was emerging in my head. That was it. Later that day, she flags me down, Bev. It was as if you sprinkled fairy dust on everybody. You walked out of the room and everyone's printing changed. And then later that week, she caught up with me again to tell me the story of a parent who called to confess scolding her own daughter for being so irresponsible, bringing home somebody else's assignment book. Didn't recognize her daughter's printing. At this point, I think I'm onto something. And I started to formalize the concepts that I was identifying. And then when Temple University in Philadelphia, and that's where this accent is from, began a doctoral program with a specialty track in entrepreneurship, I enrolled. I wanted to learn who else is having success with handwriting around the country. And that was the basis of my evidence-based practice paper. And I discovered it's not about form. First of all, it is about size, but it's also about direct instruction, working on all the foundation things that would seek to impact legibility. We're not. They're not. All of us OTs, we've been working on core strength and stability and in-hand manipulation and perceptual skills, not having the functional impact, the results that we need. And that's what we're supposed to be about in school practice, impacting function. After I graduated, I stayed connected with Temple University. And I said to them, if you ever have any doctoral students looking for a study, bring it on. And 2 years later, 2 doctoral candidates came forward and they researched me in what turned out to be the largest study ever done on handwriting. I was right. It's not about form. Consistency of letter size will make the biggest difference in the appearance and readability of the written page. And it's so easy to teach because there's only 3. That's why we say when it comes to neat printing, size matters. Ergo, the name of my handwriting program, the Size Matters Handwriting Program.
Fast forward several years, and I run into you at a Pennsylvania Occupational Therapy Association conference. And I put my name in a hat to win the prize of the conference from your station, your stand, whatever their booth. That's what they're called.
Yeah.
And I won the prize and came home with 10 of these.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what do I do with this thing? I have 10 of them, but what do I do with it? I proceeded to learn more about your program, but I did something very unconventional when I reached out. Do you remember what I did?
No, remind me.
wrote you a letter and yeah, I wrote you a letter. I insisted on an in-person visit. And you're going, what? Do you remember?
Wow.
You remember me sitting in your home office and we got through this whole spiel that I had put together and Steve walks in and I had to start all over again. Do you remember that day?
I do. Now that you bring it up, I do remember that. I think and the language may me come across weird, but I felt like you were my first fan. I had a fan. You really loved this program. You wanted to be a part of it.
Yeah, and I gave you some ideas of things, and lo and behold, the next thing that happened is I was coming down to your house once a week, and we were redoing some of the structure on some of the things that I had concerns about. You took
love that
concerns and you implemented a change. I was like, man, this is really cool. The first thing that we were really working on was, at the time, you had the point of view survey and the intake as one document. And I'm like, wait a minute, if we're doing this, we might need to separate these documents and get 2 separate scores because there was just so much information. It took too much time. Because just to do the point of view survey effectively, it takes a good half hour. You got to ask the kids, you ask the parents, you ask the teachers. It takes a little bit of time to fill out that document. And I'll tell you what, the idea behind the point of view survey is to find out student perspective. And student perspective is the thing that Tier 1 interventions, the point of view survey is based on student perspective. And student perspective is really where tier one interventions, the stuff that I'm working on outside of this is really stemming from my research has shifted to how do we get children to embrace and enroll in student perspective. I'm doing less with handwriting and more with that foundation of getting student perspective. The point of view survey is just one of those assessments, one of those screeners that I use with every evaluation that I ever do. And yeah, I really embrace the point of view survey piece of your philosophy. Lo and behold, you now have two different products. You have a point of view survey and an intake.
Point of view survey became our screener. And interestingly, the doctoral class at University of the Sciences, which is now associated with St. Joe's OT program, studied the point of view survey. And like with you, I'm always open to learning. Let me get feedback. When I know better, I do better. They gave me wonderful feedback on how to make it better. The point of view survey is continuing to evolve. I do think it'll be proven to be a valid outcome measure, but it needs some tweaking of language, or it needs to be more explicit in the training involved in making sure that it's implemented with fidelity, that the results are valid and reliable. And just to build on what you said, it's a comparison of the child's point of view with the teacher's point of view, or it could be the parent, or it could be the evaluator, the OT. What is their point of view on the same issues? And my contention is that a disparity in their points of view is an implication for treatment. And that's important. There's a lot of assessments out there. You get scores, and then you don't know what to do with that information. I was never comfortable with that. I want to know that when I've done an assessment, I'm directed in what I should be doing to correct whatever deficits or lack of consensus emerges from that. Yes, the point of view definitely evolved from that first feedback that you gave me. Cheri, I forgot until you mentioned that. Thank you so much. That you helped me a lot on the wording, added statements to that. It was more reflective of the situation. And it is a true screener. It's a true
Yes.
screener in that you can administer it without touching kids. Once you start touching kids, you're doing an evaluation. But sometimes we want to just get a sense of whether we need to get that involved. Could kids be helped at a tier one, tier two, even tier three level of intervention? We don't want all these kids rolling over into OT evaluation. Schools get cited by an abuse of special ed services, but there's so much that we could do before those kids get a formal referral. And the point of view survey gives you tons of suggestions for how to align the teacher and the student's point of view so that they are both productive.
Absolutely. And that was one of my points when I brought that to your attention was the definition between an evaluation and a screener. One thing that I find with many screeners out there is you have to touch the child. And I'm like, yeah, you're missing the definition from AOTA. For those of you who don't know that acronym, American Occupational Therapy Association. I want to bring this back to the writing glitch, but I wanted people to hear a little bit about our background and where that came from and how we've evolved separately from that point in time where you have really expanded Real OT Solutions to have more products even than when came to you as that first fan. But I have gone a different direction, but yet our purpose is still what is the best for the students.
Cheri, you remind me, we've known each other so many years that I forget some of these earlier conversations. Please forgive me. But friends out there, when you tune in and you listen to this, I have to credit you, Cheri, You got me thinking about things that I had not originally thought about. As I said, listen, I try and do my best, and when I know better, I do better. But Sherry, you brought to my attention the importance of adhering to the ideals of AOTA and IDEA. And toward that end, I am very proud to say that the point of view survey and later the intake, the printing and writing competency intake that branched off the very comprehensive assessment are both strength-based and participation-based. And that's the movement that we have gone in occupational therapy. Years ago, we did evaluations and we were finding out all the things that the kids couldn't do. That was essentially what's called a deficit-based evaluation. And in truth, I don't want to know what the kids can't do. I want to know what the kids can do. And I want to give them tools so that they can show me their best performance. If that is still problematic, at least I know that's where I'm going to start. If kids need a near point reference, I'm going to give it to them. Let's see what happens when they have a near point reference, good adapted writing paper. They're given some extra cues to get started. Note that in the assessment. And that's our starting point. We don't want to see how poorly the kids do. This is a strengths based screener. The intake is a strengths based assessment. And in terms of participation based, and that is also a new concept in the field of OT in school based therapy. I don't even believe that we need to reassess kids using standardized assessments. They give you a score that compares kids to a normative sample. I'm going to tell you how my kids are going to do. They're probably going to do poorly, but that doesn't mean they're not functional. What I'm more interested in is have the kids improved relative to where they started out. And that's what's called a participation based assessment. The kids receive a score. We have a baseline. We have all these implications for treatment that we've gleaned from our interpretation of the point of view survey or the intake. And then when we reassess them, we can compare kids to themselves. And now we need to learn, is that functional? They may be always holding their pencil in a really funky way. FYI, everybody, pencil grip has nothing to do with legibility. Their posture may be a little bit unusual, but it's stabilizing for them. That's not going to be the issue either. We compare kids to themselves, seeing if they have achieved a level of function. Are they achieving and participating in their classrooms? Cheri, you really helped me rethink how I wanted to frame all of the potential of the Size Matters Handwriting Program. And I want to thank you again for that.
Thank you. I came from a very unique perspective in thinking that, and sometimes I feel like I'm a lone character when it comes to thinking about strengths and participation. And thank you for embracing that as you have grown your program. Now, let's transition a little bit. When we're looking at the science of reading, the science of reading has 4 basic foundations. The one is explicit instruction. The second one is systematic instruction. The third one is cumulative. And the fourth one is multisensory. When I looked at many letter formation programs, handwriting programs, a lot of them that are out there, really, they have an explicit instruction. You have a straight line down, you have a horizontal line across. That's the capital letter L. They are really systematic. There is a specific developmental direction of what letter you start with and what letter you end with and what is the order in the middle. They're not alphabetical. Okay. Great with multisensory. You have all kinds of fun multisensory aspects to your program. The areas that I feel that OT and handwriting curriculum that really is focusing on getting letters written down on paper, size, and all those aspects is the cumulative aspect of connecting that early letter writing to phonics. Can you tell me a little bit about how the Size Matters Handwriting Program links the science of reading into your into the curriculum for the rest of the world? I should say it that way.
That's a loaded question. There's a whole bunch to go over. We call ourselves the science of handwriting. There is no other handwriting program that has as much research as we have. We have 5, 6 published studies. We have a number of studies that have made it to the poster stages. That means that research has happened. People created posters to share the research with their colleagues at conferences, state, national. We have dozens upon dozens. I have 3 studies in development right now. One's in Massachusetts, one's in Texas. I think 2 in Texas right now. There's lots of research. We are the science of handwriting. But as you pointed out, Cheri, the explicit instruction is important. You got to teach it. You got to teach it. What I found in my doctoral research was direct instruction. That's really, you got to do that. You can't do all that foundation stuff that alone. Direct instruction, specific skill feedback, specific skill training, and verbal feedback are the things that are going to make the biggest difference in the acquisition of competence in a new motor skill. It's motor learning theory at work here. Motor learning theory, constant and block practice, that's the drill work. But it has to be followed by random variable practice. Now, this is OT speak, but random variable means that now you have to embed these concepts that you've taught and you have to apply them. It has to be across the school day. We can't just do something in isolation and think there's going to be any carryover. And that's the thing that Size Matters offers that no other program has. We have those random variable strategies that enable teachers to remind kids about the variables that make printing neat and legible all day long. Simple strategies like the dice game. The dice game. Dice determines practice. Whatever the kids roll is how many times I have to make a star-worthy letter. What's a star-worthy letter? It's a letter that's touching the writing lines in all the right places. And there's 3 rules for letter size. I'll share that with you in a minute. But for teachers who say, okay, I believe in handwriting practice, I don't know how to fit it into the day, we say to them, can you walk around with dice? Because once kids learn how this works, when they hear the clinking of dice, their ears perk up. They look around at each other. They say, is she walking around with dice? Because that means that at any moment, the teacher could stop by their desk, point to a letter, only point to a letter that you've already talked about, the sizing of that letter, and ask the kids, how'd you do? And then the child should look at it and go, not so hot. And the teacher would then ask, why? What size is that letter? Now, I'm going to segue right really quickly here. Letters come in 3 sizes. You've called them tall letters. We call them size 1. You've called them short letters. We call them size 2. And dangling letters, we call them size 3. All of your uppercase letters are size 1. And there's 7 lowercase letters are size 1. Suppose it's a size 1 letter.
Right
And
here
there's
is
the alpha triangle that
the
shows
sizes are highlighted right along this yellow, green.
blue, but the pink is our color
Okay,
for
so I'm
size 1.
colorblind.
Okay, green. Yellow is our color for size 2 and blue for size 3. And if the child says it's a size 1, the teacher could then say, and what's the rule for size 1 letters? My friends, I'm going to sing and dance for you. The rule for letter size come packaged as a song and a dance. Here it is. Size 1 letters. They have to touch the top line. They have to touch the bottom line. They can't go higher. They can't go lower. They can't float in the middle. I hope you weren't expecting more. It's a soundbite. It's a soundbite that you remind kids of all day, every day. And touching means touching. You can't be poking through the line. You can't have any air between the pencil point and the writing line. When the child repeats the rule, it's as if you have given them the answers to the test. Now they can score their own printing. And then they roll dice. Whatever number they roll, 2, 5, 1 is how many times they have to make a star-worthy letter. Now, if a teacher stops one child, you better believe the one next to him, behind him, across the room, saw this interaction and they're thinking letter size. It goes viral. It's one of the strategies that distinguish Size Matters. We can remind kids about proper letter sizing all day long because writing happens in social studies, science, and math. The magnetic recta-square board, it's a tool that I gotta be honest with you, it's not magnetic. It has a ferrous backing, so magnets stick to it. It comes with little white thumbtacking magnets that enable you to tack it to your magnetic whiteboards, or it's thin enough that you can thumbtack it to a bulletin board, tape it to a wall. The magnets will still stick to it. Pink, yellow, blue magnets. The board is a wipe-off surface. The magnets are wipe-off surface. All day long, you could be graphing vocabulary, language, terms that are meaningful to the curriculum to remind kids about letter sizes. The adapted writing paper comes in different grade levels, and that's really important. The kids graduate to higher grade level papers, and every little kid wants to feel like a big kid. Imagine being in first grade, but you're making all your letters the right size. You graduate to second grade paper, very empowering. Again, no other program has the ability to get kids excited about handwriting all day, every day. It's not just that drill work, the teaching of the concepts, but you have to have these strategies all day long are reminding kids about what makes writing legible.
Fantastic. We are running out of time. Is there anything else that you'd like to share about your products at Real OT Solutions? And how do we find out how to find you?
Thanks, Cheri. Yes, first of all, realotsolutions.com. Please visit, write to me, Bev at Real OT Solutions. Listen, everybody, you honor me with the ability to learn from you and help you in your schools and your practices. All of your feedback is so much appreciated. I always write back. Please don't hesitate to ask me any questions about what I'm talking about. Size Matters, I truly believe, is the future. I'm a really grounded therapist. You have to teach handwriting, but it's not about form. Every school is in the same boat of trying to make ends meet. Here's the good news. This is a concept-driven approach. You can get started with your knowledge alone. You don't even need any materials, and I'm going to share with you how you can make some of these materials on your own. In a school setting, in a district, it helps to have materials because it improves the chance of consistency across the classrooms and the grade. But here's another great thing. This is an affordable program. We have one grade level of manuscript. The first year that schools adopt it, we encourage it for kindergarten and first grade. The second year, if you bought the MRB, the magnetic recta-square board, the adapted writing paper is approved for copying. You and the alpha triangles you can use every year. You can continue to implement an effective handwriting intervention with minimal investments. This is a very affordable program.
Thank you today, sharing your wisdom and what you have learned in your research. Remember, you were put here for such a time as this. Listeners, go be awesome and be brilliant. And we'll see you next week on The Writing Glitch. This has been Cheri Dotterer. Thank you, Bev, for being here.
Thank you, Cheri.